So today is Saturday, March 2nd, 2024, 11:59 a.m. Pacific time. So there's a place called the Asilomar Conference Center here in Pacific Grove, California, and I'm basically 1.6 miles away from it. I'm a lifelong resident of the Monterey Peninsula. But I'm going to tell you all the stuff that happens here on the peninsula, hiding in plain sight, that this beautiful Monterey Peninsula. So let's start with the Human Genome Project. And basically, they gathered in Asilomar in Pacific Conference Center on the recombinant of the DNA or the Human Genome projects. This goes all the way back to 1975. And part of it, the Asilomar Conference was organized to review scientific progress and research on recombinant DNA molecules and to discuss the appropriate ways to deal with the potential biohazards of the work. So basically, they came up with these called principles on how, as the technology or biotechnology or research and illegal experimentation transpires, they're going to come up with all these so-called ethical guidelines. But they don't tell you about how they targeted human beings without their fucking consent. So now we go from the Human Genome Project and the principles on the ethical use of doing gene splicing and CRISPR. So this is the beginning. Asilomar, Pacific Grove, California, all these experts come together, right? So then we'll go forward in time, and it was called the Asilomar for artificial intelligence because they found out what AI and artificial general intelligence has the capacity to do. So they came up with these principles on how the ethical use of artificial intelligence would be. But again, they met here in Pacific Grove, California. So this is the conference, the benefits to artificial intelligence. So these are where the principles came up. So they first came up with they call Asilomar AI principles, Asilomar human genome or DNA principles. And then we go over here, see the AI principles. In 2017, they gathered these experts. And then what I found out recently, hold on. Is that they also gathered in 2018 about this one. And this is most critical because it's brain-computer interface. So now they're talking about using artificial intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and manipulating people's brains and brainwave activities, their cognitive, motor, central nervous system, and or behavioral functions. You could do it from outside the body through DARPA's neurotechnology, third generation. And they gathered here in Asilomar. And they talked about brain-computer interfaces. Brain-computer interface research is rapidly expanding and it engages domains of human experience that may find central to our current understanding of ourselves. Ethical principles or guidelines can provide researchers with tools. So what do they mean? Well, they decide when they can use it. So not only is the Monterey Peninsula known for all these principles that are out there around the globe, as these experts gather in Pacific Grove, California, you know, where I talk about my targeting, where the military is offensively using a biological technological weapon of mass destruction in a BCI, a closed-loop brain-computer interface. But again, they gather in Asilomar. So we're going in time is what I'm trying to show you, what they're capable of doing. So what else do they have here? Well, it's called the Directed Energy Weapons Symposium. And the first time they met was here on the Monterey Peninsula with the Naval Postgraduate School. And these are all these anti-personnel directed energy weapons. And this latest one that they gathered in, if you notice this here, that the classified section of it was only need to know and invite only, even if you had basically a top secret security clearance, you still were only invited on a need to know basis. And the only other country they allowed in, so no foreigners, and only the United Kingdom. And they gathered here at the conference on directed energy weapons. But you know, the ones that the military claims doesn't exist. Oh, and by the way, the first TED talks happened in 1984. The TED conference took place in Monterey, California. And they actually met here on the peninsula until 2008, when the venue got so big that they had to move it to another place. So you want to talk about what hides in plain sight. But the most dangerous part about what they're doing with the cover of the United States Department of Defense is that they've used the civilian population on the Monterey Peninsula like human lab rats and guinea pigs. They get into their expertise focus group analysis and tell you all the ethical things, or how someone should react to what they're inflicting on someone without their motherfucking consent. It's a hornet's nest on the Monterey Peninsula. And everything you're hearing about in mainstream media, AI principles, DNA, the human gene. So they went from the Human Genome Project, and then in 2013, they went to the Human Brain Project. And where do those fuckers meet? They meet here on the peninsula. And they decide for the world what they claim is ethical or not. But here's the biggest problem. These motherfuckers never put themselves in the line of fire, but they sure do have a lot of opinions about what is ethical, what's not, as they torture the shit out of an unwilling victim of their targeting. But right here is telling me that these motherfuckers met for the brain-computer interface. That's where you merge, where you can manipulate someone's cognitive, motor, central nervous system, and or behavioral functions from outside the body by sending radio frequency electromagnetic signals to disrupt and disorganize neurons, multiple neurons, based upon the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, or DARPA's N3. So basically, it's mind control. Coercive, mechanical mind control.